Hey everyone, looks like we are live. There is nobody here yet, but I know that there was something wrong with YouTube today. It didn't allow me to schedule the live stream like I usually do, so I had to do it kind of a roundabout kind of way here. Hey Mr. Air Todd, how are you all the way from San Diego? How's everything today? So glad you're here. That is so cool. It's nice to see you. How's the weather out there in San Diego, sir? I'm going to very quickly see if I can go here and maybe send. No, I think those who are meant to find me will find me. So I'm not going to worry. I sent an email out to everyone. Hey, Mr. Dan, all the way from Indianapolis. Great to see you. Dwayne, how's it going? San Luis de Obispo. Great to see you. Go Mustangs, not banana slugs. So glad you're here. How did everyone find me? Did you find me through the Facebook link or the email that I sent you? Just a quick question. Because Facebook was having some troubles today. It wouldn't allow me to post the, post it up today as normal. So that is cool. So today I'm still working on the train painting, but since I'm beginning this painting, I'm actually beginning an oil painting. But I'm using my airbrush India inks, the airbrush, and then I'm going in with some Createx paint, and then from there I'm going to go over with oils. Hey, what's up, Mr. Roy, all the way from New Jersey? Great to see you, sir. Let me get this the right way. I'm going to flip it and then mirror it. So now it is correct. And let's see if I go this way. Yeah, I'll just move her over. That's all I'll do. There we go. That's better. And Dwayne says, it just now popped up on his YouTube feed. Was wondering what was going on. Yeah, so, YouTube is having some issues. And so hopefully by next week it'll be better. Yeah, because usually I could set up the YouTube live stream to start at 9:30 all the way, the day before. But today, it only allowed me to start it up fresh. So very strange indeed. But that's okay. No pain, no gain, and all that fun stuff, right? So today, I want to go ahead and show you how I begin using my custom stencils, my line drawing. So how do I differ from other people who use stencils, other artists who use stencils? Through my program, I do all the line drawings and everything by hand, right? So it's hand drawn, and then from that hand drawing is where I make my stencils. So it's a little bit different. I always like to have my hand involved, that art school guilt that comes, but I'm not saying that that's right or wrong by any means. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on her face first. Always work on her face, and what I want to do is I want to, let me see if I can find this. So we have these. I'm looking for a special one. Here it is. There. Well, no, that's not her. We have this one. I'm looking for just... Huh. That's peculiar. Maybe it's under here. No, okay. Well, there's always something that's gonna go awry when it's live, right? That's besides the point. And I'm going to look for just something that is covering everything but her face. I want to work on her face. I think this is it, guys. Let's see. Yes. but I need to be covering her dress. So we're going to be working on this. And the important thing is I get these contours right. That's the main thing. So let's work on that, getting these contours perfect. So this is going to be an airbrush India ink underpainting. Over that, I'm going to be going over it with the Wicked paint, and then over that, I'm going to be going over with oils. In between working with the Wicked paint and the India ink, that's when I'm going to shellac it, so it will accept the layers of color with the Wicked. So if it's just, you know, naked paper, there's a chance to have some issues. So I'm circumventing those issues, of course. And let's see who else we got here. Okay, small group. I guess the whole different format of how YouTube is notifying everyone today kind of drone people off. That's okay, you know. Michael, Mr. Michael McClung. How's it going? Really loving the Farah. Really beautiful. Great job, sir. Fantastic job. So good to see you, Mr. Michael, from the Maryland area. So great. So now I'm looking for something to cover her dress. Her dress is white, as you can see. Well, white as far as what she's wearing, but this will actually, which is really cool, her dress is actually orange and different colors like that, you know. And let me see, so we're covering here, and then we have a tiny little piece for this side of her dress. We got to make sure we get these contours correct. I know sometimes it's a pain to do it, you know, painstaking, but you know, it's important. It's important to give you all, you know, it really is. She's gonna be a lot of work, yes, Michael, but you're up for the challenge, that I know. You've been working hard and consistent, and it shows. Consistent hard work is the secret of success in anything, in my opinion. Okay, so we have the candle. Candle's white, so we don't have to worry about that too much. There we go. And we got to make sure that we're covering the edge work. Right here there's a little piece, you know, but that's okay. We'll be alright. We'll be alright. Okay. So there we go. And let's see who we got here. That's his motto. Keep challenging himself. Yes, that's so true. You know, let me get this fan on me here. Alright, so what I like to do in the beginning, of course, is to pull up Pure Ref, right? And just pull that up, and let me bring that picture over. And this way you have your reference. If you guys don't have Pure Ref, I highly recommend it. pureref.org, and it's actually free. You can donate whatever you want, but it's actually free, which is really great. So let's go and get that picture of our neoclassical woman here. And where is she? Here she is. Okay, great. So now I have my reference here. So what I like to do is basically work with my white mixture when I'm doing my airbrush and India ink underpainting. And remember, you can always go over the ink over the white, no problem, but it's when the white's over the ink is an issue. You can go over the ink with white, but only when it's super light. Mr. Dave, how's it going, my friend? Happy Father's Day to you and everybody. Did you get to see your family and everything? I really hope so. So that is cool, and things getting a little better down in Texas. Little by little, the change will get a little more palatable, right, my friend? And we just have to, you know, let things kind of evolve, right? Hanging out with the family and chasing fireflies in Pennsylvania tonight. Oh wow, that is great. That's really cool. Mr. Mr. Gregory, thank you so much, Dave, for the super chat. I really appreciate you. So what are you guys doing in Pennsylvania? You guys have family out there? That is so cool. That's neighboring New Jersey, of course, on the other side of the state, but still, you're almost in my neck of the woods, depending on where you are in Pennsylvania, of course. Now, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to get rid of my picture, and I'm going to be silent for a moment. Okay, can you guys hear me now? So right now you should be able to hear me. So I just had to change it so it was a little bit louder. So cool. Mr. Brad, how's it going all the way from Manitoba? Great to see you, sir. Dave says his wife and kids are moving there for a year, Carlisle area. Central PA. Wow, I hear it's beautiful in Central PA. And Dave says, hey, Dwayne, and everyone's saying hello to everyone. That is so cool. And so that's so good to hear. And thanks again, Dave, for that super chat. I really appreciate you, sir. How's the sound? Better? Since I'm using the USB mic, it should be better, hopefully. And let's see. So now I think we're in good shape. So going back to working in this painting, I definitely like to come in first with the white mixture. And remember, the white mixture comes first, then after the white mixture comes the detail mixture, and kind of working back and forth. So that's basically my MO right now. So we're going to be working on just her face only, and I see if I have anything that will cover up her hair, and hopefully we will. I don't think so though, for some reason. I do have the negative, but not the positive, which is quite bizarre. So something happened to it on the way to the live stream. Okay, we'll just have to do it the old way, old-fashioned way. So we're going to get one of our shot glasses here. Put this here. And of course we're going to use our illustration. Actually, I think we could probably refill this. Let's see, yes. So I'll take a fresh bottle. And this is an 8 fluid ounce of the 50/50 illustration white. And I'll do it the Steve Leahy way, where he says you kind of open it fully opening the cap. Of course, when Mr. Leahy does it, it works perfectly. And when I do it, well, we can see what's happening when I do it. But it did work somewhat for me. Not as good as it works for Steve. Of course, Steve is the consummate pro. That's for sure. Mr. Michael McClung, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your friendship and sharing your artwork and the Farrah Fawcett. I mean, that's just inspiring. I'm just really happy that you are stretching yourself and not afraid. And that's, to me, that's great. That's what inspires me. So I'm going to shake this up even better. And thank you so much, my friend, for your super chat and hanging out with me on Wednesdays and us and just your great comments. I really, really appreciate you, sir. I just want you to know that. So I'm going to do it away from my painting, of course. Ooh, wow, this is really doesn't look. It came out really lumpy, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some 4011 in there right away because it did not look right. But that might be how I stored it, and maybe I'm going to put a BB in here, a couple of more BBs. I'm going to put 3 more BBs in here. And now I'm going to cover this. Now I'm going to shake it really well. Maybe the extra BBs will help matters. So let's see. Nothing a little 4011 and some mixing can't help. But this is definitely a job for the strainer, right, everybody? So let me get my strainer. I have my paint strainer, and that one, let's see, it looks like it might be clogged, but let's check it out. So I'm going to strain it in here. Okay, let me go ahead and rinse this. Okay, so I went ahead and strained it, and it looks pretty good. But then I'm going to put 2.5 to 1 with water. So, because I do like to have diluted 50/50 illustration white when I'm doing the white for this. Oh, cool. So Dave with the, thank you so much for the the emojis, my friend. So that is so cool. Right back at you guys. Whoop, I don't know what I just put up there. That's not what I wanted to put up there. That's some... I'm trying to put emojis back, and all of a sudden it did some really weird emojis. But those are great emojis, Mr. Dave. Okay, there we go. Let's see, where are the okay, here we go. Here's some really cool emojis. Let's see how that goes. Look at that. My emojis did not come out as emojis. That's just weird. Mr. Steve Leahy, how's it going, my friend? Of course, I like using a palette knife, and I'll mix that really well. And this looks like it still may be a little bit on the lumpy side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain that yet again. And I think that would be good to strain it again. Today has been a really weird day on the YouTube side of things. Things have been a little strange. But we plug on, and that's what's important. Let's see. Come over here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to load my airbrush through the strainer. And shouldn't do this near my painting, but I did, and that's a no-no. Marge would yell at me like she yells at Mr. Steve Leahy, right, sir? And I'm just going to go ahead and move this over here like that. But now I know I have a very nice, thorough so cool. Everyone saying hi to Mr. Steve. And now I just have to turn on the compressor. Okay, here goes nothing. Alright, so cool. And now what I like to do is to always have a spare piece of paper. So this way I can check the flow of everything before the flow of everything. So we'll just, don't want to test on our artwork, right? That's the last thing we want to do. So we'll just test here. Getting a good flow, and that's good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the lights on her forehead, and we're going to build them up slowly, which is really good. Let's see. Right over here. So when you're using the white, especially on a tinted paper, you're not going to see it very clearly at first. It's wet, so once it gets wet, what happens is it gets darker. Until it dries, does it actually get lighter. And you want to build it up slowly. And take your time. And if you see any pencil lines in the early going, just know that it's important to make sure that you get rid of those pencil lines. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. And keep that 1 second rule. Keep your head in the game. So you need an airbrush like mine, which is going to give you control. It's going to give you control, but one of my airbrush teachers, David Morton, I know you all know of him. He's a great airbrush artist, one of the innovators, especially with online teaching. And he said, you know, you can have a custom micron, but that doesn't mean anything if you can't sketch with it. And I agree. I think it's so much more important to sketch with the airbrush than it is to get the fine lines and everything. Don't get me wrong, fine lines are crucial and they're very important, but it's so much more important to sketch. I'm going to wait to that to sort of dry so I can see exactly what's going on there. And Mr. Bobby, how's it going? Great to see you. How's life treating you, sir? As you can see, it is very light at first, and that's the way we're going to do it. So let's work on this area right here, this triangle. And let's see if I can zoom in. There we go. And let's make sure we have a good focus. And just sketch at first. So Mr. Bobby from Cape Cod, great to see you. So glad you're here. Yeah, David Morton, I have not heard from him. I'm not sure what he's up to. But very nice guy, very great painter. And some could say that he started all this with the online and everything. So definitely he deserves our respect, you know? No doubt about it. See if I can get a little more light on this subject here, if that will help. And I'll zoom out a little bit. There we go. Yeah, he's definitely what he did with that Aztec. If you guys remember, he used to paint with the Aztec. And I give him that, you know, he was somebody who did his own thing, and he did great paintings with that Aztec. Even so, I was at not Hobby Lobby, I think it was Blick, maybe about 5 years ago, and he actually wrote a book for Walter Foster, the Walter Foster books on airbrushing, which was really, really great. Good on him. But yeah, I remember I bought one of his classes. I think it was the Electric Skull, and you know, I talked to him online, and he actually gave me a call and gave me pointers when I first started airbrushing. How cool is that? And talked to me like real graciously. It was really amazing. So. You know, David Morton, if you ever see anything that he does, please please support him. He's a really good guy and very important in the airbrush teaching space. Just bringing this light down. As you can see, you're going so super light, and this is, I feel, what the 19th century French academic painters were doing. They created their own luminosity by first putting in a really vibrant light background and then going over it with transparent glazes to get that feeling of light, of the sun hitting them. Of course, this painting is more candlelight, but that's okay. And of course, with the white, you've got to know that you're going to get tip dry, because, you know, this white most likely has titanium white in it, and titanium white has one of the largest pigment particles, so that will dry and that will create that whole thing. Now right here you see on her mental fat compartment, right on her chin, it looks like it's a much darker value than going down by the Orbicularis, but it isn't that much darker. So what I'm learning from the 19th century French academic painters is that these values are much closer than you think they are. So, okay, so why would you want them to be so close? Because that's how you get that slow turning. That's how you get that three-dimensional quality. So that's really what they were after. They were after that three-dimensional quality. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to compress this area right here of the mental fat compartment, and then the orbicularis here. In the picture, it may look like it's the values are further away. That's our mind playing tricks on us. So our job is to kind of compress those values, and that's going to give us the realism that we're looking for, hopefully. I'm going to go a little bit lighter than the value here because I'm thinking like a chess player. I'm going to glaze a darker transparent over that later. And so that's my thinking. I'm not trying to hit the exact value because that would just be like shooting myself in the foot. Once it's too dark, there's nowhere to go. Then I would have to go in with the orange and white mixture, and then I'm putting tint on top of tint and everything like that, and eventually my colors are going to be dull. So we definitely want to have a game plan to create like powerful lights and compress those values. So I'm actually going lighter than I want to because it's going to allow me to get more vibrant color in the midtones and in the shadows. So I hope that works. I hope that works for you guys to try it. And get rid of the pencil lines before you have to erase them. Hey Gary, how's it going from Hershey, Pennsylvania? I seen that your post, it was like super hot. How are you dealing with the heat? Do you have to go out in this heat today, sir? And this week? Hopefully you didn't. Now there are some real like tiny lights in here, I'm not going to be a cowboy and try to do it with the airbrush. That's what the paintbrush is invented for. So I'm not going to be a cowboy. I'm not going to try and do it just to spite myself. It's easier to definitely uh, what do they say, that discretion is a better part of valor or something like that. I'm going to come in with her neck, and you see how I'm creating this tonal fabric right from the get-go. I'm creating my creating my blueprint. And of course here we have the clavicle and the sternocleidomastoid as it comes into the clavicle here, and then the sternum. Just make sure you're making mental notes of the anatomical forms. We're not just painting the paint, we're painting to understand and to help other people understand. And you can move those magnets to suit you, right? And so Gary, relaxing by the pool, that is cool. That is great. So glad to hear that. Enjoying the fruits of your hard work. I love that. Okay, so now that we did that, there are some lights in her hair. So I'm just going to establish that very lightly. And I do recommend, if you guys can, to try and incorporate backgrounds into your artwork. It's the next level. And, you know, in that next level of, you know, putting in backgrounds, is it forces you to construct, work on, and then complete a painting, right? Like the old masters did. So, you know, always try and work on that. Work on, you know, getting a full background, a full three-dimensional space that's not shallow, that goes back, and that's going to help you understand and also make your work that much more realistic. So it's very important to, if you're not scared, then you're not doing it right. So, you know, having a full background like this really forces me to push myself to the limit, you know. I'm just going to establish these earrings here. Also right here on her face. I can wait on that. And now I can maybe start to build up the white a little bit on her forehead. And then here, I think I went a little wild, so just remember, you can always go darker over the white, so that's not a problem. And so right now we have the philtrum. We have to worry about the philtrum. And let's see if I can zoom in for us. Okay, so I'm going to have to lighten that up, so we're going to get a kneaded eraser. Anything else would be too harsh. With the kneaded eraser, what I'm doing is I'm just able to lift just enough of that graphite. And let me zoom in on my reference. 1 second rule and all that fun stuff. And so again, you know, let's say if I'm working on something that is like real tight detail, I want to make sure everything is working perfectly. Sun Tzu, the Art of War, every battle is won or lost before it's ever fought. Go. Okay. And we can do the side of the mental fat compartment that is facing the light most directly. Remember, the light's coming from above. There we go. And then we can zoom out. And since it is the illustration, the 50-50 illustration white, we can definitely erase. Mr. Gary, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate your support and your friendship, sir. Thank you so much. It is an honor to have you, and you know, when you come to the live stream, it's always great to see you. I always talk to you and see you on the Monday night live streams of Mr. Steve Leahy. So it's always I feel like I know you a long time, sir. And thanks again for the support. It really just helps. It's just amazing. Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you. And so that it's great. You know, it's the airbrush community is so fantastic. And you know, why I mentioned somebody like, you know, Mr. Dave Morton. He's like one of the guys who started it. He was the only one really selling videos back then. It was really, you know, he really is the predecessor. And those are the type of people we have to make sure that we, you know, thank. And, you know, and now we have such a great community, you know, Steve Leahy's live streams and Scott McKay and all those great live streams that are going on. Oh, no, it's thank you, Mr. Gary, definitely. All right, so now what I can do is maybe start coming in with the eyes, nose, and mouth. That's going to be interesting. It's important right now that I try and create some anchor points, right? And that's what it's about. You know, I could paint freehand, you know, whether it be airbrush or oils or pastels or acrylic or watercolor. Been trained on it all, but with everything I find is to have a really good structure, right? And that's what we need. We need structure, and just by itself, it's just not quite good enough. So right now we're looking for that structure. I'm going to take off this border. I don't really need it. It's more in the way. I'm just going to draw it out. I frame it anyway, so I really don't have to have that border. So do I see? Oh, I thought I saw the long lost stencil, but alas, it still eludes me. So now I'm looking for something different, and now for something completely different. Eyes, nose, and mouth. And I think this might be what we're looking for. Let's see. Eyes, nose, and eyebrow, and upper lip. So that's what we have now. And oh, at avocado, a menagerie of Iwatas and couple of Xtreme Patriot. Oh, cool. Let's see what avocado. Oh, hey, avocado, how's it going? Great to see you. I'm sorry I missed your comment. How's everything over there? And I remember, avocado, if I'm not mistaken, now where are you located? Are you located in the Caribbean? I always like to ask, and I get it wrong invariably until it becomes part of part of me, and that's what I want, because I want you all to know that every one of you are just super important. So that's why I always want to know where you guys are from. Not only because I'm nosy, but because I want to make sure that, you know, you guys are definitely important to me. Alright, now it's so important also to get the contour correct. If that's off, then it's going to be bad. So that's why it's great to have these clear mylar. I used to use regular paper with little cutouts, and that worked okay for me, but I was unable to see it. And with the mylar is great because now I can see it, and I use the Cameo 4 for that. And Dave says a couple of no-name cheapies from Amazon that he lets his kids use. That's cool. Steve says, I love the painting at this stage. Looks so ethereal. It really does, right? It just has this endless possibilities, right? I feel. And that's what I love about this stage as well, sir. Okay, so now we're going to keep this airbrush going, right? So we're going to put it aside, and I'm going to come in with my regular Xtreme Patriot arrow, customized by myself, or done on my lonesome, not by myself. And let's see, so now we have the Xtreme Patriot arrow customized by myself, different needle, spring on the pack valve, different backing so I can get to the needle quickly. Then the shorter trigger, check the air valve, so change the oil, so to speak, and rotate the tires, all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of my ink here. Oh, great. So, Mr. Steve says that paint gun's been a workhorse. Thank you. Thank you for trying it and trusting me, my friend. I really appreciate that. You know, it's funny. Probably 99% of all the airbrushes I have done in the past 5 years have been done with this airbrush. And I know what you mean. If it works, you're just like, you know, there's no reason to, you know, do anything else, you know. Oh, and Bobby says he loves his as well. And Bobby, thank you. And Dave, thank you guys for, you know, purchasing and using the airbrush, giving it a shot. There's so many airbrushes out there, so many good airbrushes out there, but I'm always so stoked that you all purchase one of mine and give it a shot. That means a lot. So right now I'm loading my Xtreme Patriot arrow with a very diluted detail mixture. It's maybe a little bit darker than I want to, but here goes nothing, guys. Now, just because you have these stencils don't mean that we just go in there like, you know, like a cowboy with guns blazing. So we look at what we're painting, and we can decide, you know, even though it has a stencil, just how dark or, you know, how much pressure you put in everything. Oh, yes. So one day you'll get the, oh yeah, this one's a great airbrush. They just go together so well, and highly recommend it, especially, you know, when you have one where you're doing large areas like today. It's great. My pressure is at 25 psi. I'm a real set it and forget it kind of person. Set it at 25 and forget it. Unless I'm doing something really bizarre, I am not needing anything else. I have the pack valve to go lower than 25. So as a beginning airbrush artist, unless you're doing t-shirts or custom painting or something like that, if you're doing easel work, you never have to change it. You never ever have to touch your airbrush. 25 psi, set it and forget it. I live by that, and I teach all my students that. When you're starting out, you want as little as little variation as possible, right? And that's important, right? You don't want to have so much going on. Make sure the magnet is at the edge, because if you want a hard edge, that magnet has to be tight against that background, against that paper or canvas or ampersand, whatever you use. And Dave says, once I am set up in Texas, I will get some inks to push through my Virgin Patriot Arrow. Quotations because Tim has already tested it. I have, that's right. And that's the one thing, you know, when those great people who have purchased my airbrush, I tested sometimes for 3 hours. There were some airbrushes that have, you know, from the factory, if I don't feel it's perfect, right? If it's not doing what I'm doing now, if it can't do what I'm doing now, then I don't send it out to the customer. Because not a customer, it's a fellow airbrush artist. So for me, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to give them something that's subpar. And that's so important. Important to me. Now, the upper lip is super light, right? So I'm just going to go very light. And then just, that's it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift up this stencil to see if I'm happy with it, right? And, you know, if I keep the magnets on there when I lift it up and it's like, oh, well, I forgot this area, I can just put it back down. I don't have to position it again. So let's see. Okay, nice amount of structure, which I'm happy with. There we go. So you see how she's coming together slowly, you know, not trying to, you know, win the war in the first day. And so I want to work on her hair because her hair is so important. And I know I have a hair only stencil here. And it's weird because some of the stencils are eluding me today. But it's really good learning, you know, whenever we're working on something and things aren't working out perfectly, it's a really good learning experience that's going to help us in the future. So let's see here. So here, this is like a puzzle. Let's see, where does this go? Now that's interesting. Okay, here we go. So this is definitely not the hair stencil. Let's see what we have here. So let's see if I'm missing any great comments. Okay, so that's good. And okay, so I can probably kind of do a makeshift hair stencil. That's probably the route I'm going to go. So right now I have the background covered. So we'll do this. Make sure we get this right. And we'd only do one side at a time. And I'm going to be working on this the same way throughout the whole painting, you know, the background, because, you know, when you're doing a fully realized portrait like this, the background is so important as well. It's not an afterthought, right? I wish it was, but it really isn't. So we have to make sure that we get this right. Any kind of mishap, especially going with the dark, the white over the dark, would be really bad and detrimental. So you just have to make sure that we get this. may have to use this one here. Let's see what's on this side. Okay, so we have the face covering here. So we kind of can do this on a roundabout kind of way. But let me get the hair stencil correct first. Yes, the Mono Zero is fantastic. You know, when I was doing, I was working at Amazon in the corporate offices. I worked in Amazon corporate for 10 years. And I would travel in and out of Jersey City. And it was a long commute. And I used to take my sketch pad and I would draw. And I discovered this mono eraser from an artist who was a pencil artist in the UK, and that really made a huge difference once I found that mono eraser. And it's great for airbrush painters as well. It's great for oil painters. What I learned as I matured as an artist is that no tool is wrong. Right? No tool is wrong. Every tool is crucial. And anything you could use, I should say, to make a good painting is what you should use. So if you're using a tool that's normally for acrylic painters, who cares? If you're using a tool that's normally for graphite artists, or with the Fons and Porter, you're using a tool that's normally for a tailor, because it's a fabric chalk, who cares? The only thing that is important is the fact that it's helping you. So art supply companies, a lot of art supply companies would really want you to think that you need this for that. Like women razors are pink, but it's the same darn razor, but the prices are jacked up because it's a woman razor. That kind of stuff. So always use anything at your disposal. Someone like me who is adept at many different mediums, I use all kinds of techniques, like overflowing into other techniques. It's really funny. Okay, so I'm going to put like a makeshift shield here. Make sure this is covering. I don't really care too much about, I don't care too much about the border. Like I said, I'm just going to frame it, so who cares how it looks? Alright, here goes nothing. Let's test this out, make sure that our airbrush is working correctly. It's very nice. I have the detail mixture in here, and let's get ready to rumble. Let's see. Now, just because you have a stencil here doesn't mean you blast it like it's 1999. You just want to make sure that you're working with control all the time. And take your time, It's so... Just take your time. You're going nowhere. Now, right now, I see that this is a little dark than I want it. So I'm going to dump some of it out. And I'm going to dump a significant portion. And I'm going to put some... I'm going to dilute this. Now, with my India inks, the more you dilute it, the more control you have. And when I say more control than anything else you're going to put in your airbrush. And let's see how this... Oh yeah. This is going to be a lot more control. So there's two ways to get rid of blotchiness. One is to dilute your paint, and that's going to get rid of blotchiness. And the second is to increase your distance. Those are two things that you can do. Now this is a very diluted mixture. But I'm going really slow. Almost like, anyone out there ever worked with silver point? Now that's an ancient technique. Albert Dora used it in the 1500s, 1400s maybe. And right now this is all about structure. It's really not about doing anything. Getting a tonal structure right now. And then we go in and really start sculpting, right? You know? And remember, with the ink, just like Create Text or anything else, we just have to really make sure that we do not oversaturate the surface. Let the surface catch up to the paint and, you know, get it nice and absorbed, and you'll be okay. Alright, so I think we're okay with establishing this value of the hair, right? I mean, we have so many layers to go. We're not going to, you know, play football like it's a 2-minute warning in the first quarter. So let's just move this over here. We're going to lift this up, and you'll see little by little we're getting a better idea of our tonal structure. The blueprints of the painting. Let's see what we have. Okay, and let me hear what you guys think. So there we are now, and you can see it's not bad, you know, for beginning. It's sort of like this is the whole structure of everything. And I don't think of how long this painting's going to take, because then I may cry. But we just know that we're in for the long haul. And let's see what else we can do here. I do have something interesting here. Let me see what this does here. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Let's see what this does. So my thinking when I started this was to have, you know, to start some of the architecture behind her. Some of these large shapes. And it's all well and good, but I have to protect the face, so I can't just leave it like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the face stencil here. We're going to put this in. So we have to protect her at all costs, her face. And Michael says, Tim, I think this is really going to be a good painting in oil when you get to it. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. You know, it's we got to look at it this way. I know it might be Pollyannic and everything like that, but I don't think so. So here's my thinking, Mike. We got to paint like this is going to be the Mona Lisa, right? So every painting when we start, this is the one. This is the one painting that's going to put me on the map. This is the one painting that's going to make my career. And you should do that too, you know. Every painting, like the Farah, this is the one that's going to get me to that next level. And then after Farah is done, the current painting's the one that's going to get you to the next level. And that's the way you have to think, you know, because I think that's the secret sauce that keeps us having the right attitude about our work. And it's fantastic. The thing about art is that anyone at any level can be the artist that creates the next masterpiece that is remembered throughout society. And that's what's exciting, Mike. So you guys keep painting, keep throwing things at the wall until something sticks, okay? Believe me, that's going to make a big difference. And I believe in you all. And I know, and if you guys create something that does that, I'm going to be the first one congratulating you guys and girls when that happens. I'll be the first. The first in line. Nothing will make me happier. I'll just make sure we have this closed here. Put it right there. Do I have any more little ones? So it's a lot of... So airbrush is fun, you know, and a lot of people think, like, I remember a lot of women in my life, they were always like, I just want to watch you paint when we first started dating. And I'm like, no you don't, because I will bore the heck out of you. I mean, we're all artists, so it's all cool. We're learning from each other. But from someone who is just, you know, watching like it's going to be this, like, romantic thing, you know, where I'm sloshing paint on the surface and this, like, you know, angst-ridden, energetic brush strokes. It's really not like that, you know? It's kind of funny. And, oh, so Dave says great mindset. Definitely. Exactly, Mike. Let's see how it goes. But you know what? One of these days you're going to create something and it's going to blow your mind. And it's going to blow people's mind around you. So that's exciting to me. And, you know, an ounce of prevention goes a super long way. I'm going to protect. You know what? I'm just going to kind of carpet protect, right? I'm not going to, split hairs here. I'm just going to carpet protect this. I'm just going to make sure that this is right. And careful we don't oversaturate all of this, right? We just gotta make sure we don't do that. It's easy to get too wet. As they say in the office, that's what she said. This is all very soft edged anyway. Let's see how this looks. It's just super light. I may have to make another stencil, so never go good enough, right? If making another stencil, going back to the drawing board, is going to make for a better painting, then definitely do it. But there it is. It doesn't look good. Was it worth the effort? No, it really wasn't. It wasn't worth all that effort. So let's just go ahead and freehand this. This is all super soft edged anyway, so why am I worried about it? I don't know. And you see all that work, we got a little bit of an a blotchy underspray there. But it's so early, it's not going to affect anything. But that doesn't excuse it. That doesn't excuse the fact that you could do it a better way, you know? Oh, he's Greg. Mr. Dave says he doesn't want his wife near him, and she doesn't want to be there either. She doesn't have the patience for it. That happens too, right? Yeah, but that was just for like romantic mumbo jumbo when they were like, "I just want to watch you work." No, you're gonna be, and they were bored out of their minds. So now I'm with this super detail mixture, and with this I can actually work back and forth. So I'm going to start erasing a little bit some of these excess pencil lines. And let's see if we could start working right over here, the side plane. And we don't want to get too dark. And we want to compress those values as much as we can. So, you know, our mind's like dark value, light value, mid value, but it's not that simple. It's much more subtle than that, and that's what I'm after, is that subtlety of the value changes. Bob Ross ruined us, baying the whole paintings in 30 seconds. You know, it takes me 30 seconds to get my chair at the right height. Michael says 2 pieces of paper will make it a stencil. That's true. That is so true. And I'm going to slow it down. So a lot of times when you feel like things are happening like really fast, it's just important to slow it down a little bit. Let me just come over here. There we go. Okay. And just make sure you slow things down. It's so crucial. And make sure you don't go too dark too early. Take your time. Plenty of time to go dark, but you don't have all the time in the world to really make things turn. The human head, like anything else, is made up of a bunch of round forms. And our job is to make each of those round forms turn towards the light and away from the light in its own special way, depending on its shape and orientation to the light. And having this like detail mixture that's diluted is really giving me added detail and added control, which is both really important. just keep that 1 second rule going. Very important. And you'll see in a moment I'm going to come back in with the white mixture. That's a little bit new with my in India ink technique, as I come back with the white mixture. And I'll show you, it kind of breaks convention, right? You can't use the white mixture after you came in with ink. But I'll show you like my thinking. Okay. Now we'll come back in with our white mixture. Make sure it's working correctly. And there's certain areas where there's a buildup of light. And the only way you're going to do that is with this building up the light with the white mixture. So we'll zoom out a little bit. Let me focus. So when you're looking at your forms, you're going to see that certain areas are facing the light more directly than others. And those areas are going to have more of a buildup of light. So we're creating that whole sense of light, that whole sense of form. And whatever is closer to the light is going to get more white. Whatever is facing the light most is going to get more white. Michael, have a great night. Great to see you, sir. And stay out of that heat, okay? You take care of yourself, my friend. And thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that, sir. And I'm looking forward to seeing progress of Miss Farah. I'm really looking forward to it. So, and this very light stage, I can get away with doing the white as long as I'm staying away from the heavy application of the ink, which there's hardly any, that I'm still not going to get blue shift. And then I could kind of go over where I put the detail mixture and get that compression of form. So I'm kind of tempting fate in a sense, you know, actually doing what, you know, is such a no-no. But for me as an artist, I'm not really content with just continually doing it a certain way. I want to push the envelope and see how far I can take this. And that's really important, you know? It's really important to do that. So what I would do is I increase my distance and that white becomes a gray. And, you know, going over the very light diluted detail mixture, they work together. And that's like super exciting. So do things that scare you. If you're not doing things that are scaring you, then you're just not, you're kind of going through the motions. So always push the envelope. Go beyond your own dogmatic ways of working. And we all have them, and especially I do. So I have to push myself and to break convention. If I don't, then who pays? Me. You know, the work will be good and everything will be fine and everybody will be happy, but I'm not where I want to be. So that's why you'll see me not stay with one medium. I'll keep moving to different mediums because I don't want to be at the point where I am not super challenging myself. So you might say, like, why do I work with different mediums? Why not just stay with one medium? Because when I work in oils, it helps my airbrush. When I work in airbrush, it helps my oils. When I work in acrylic, it helps everything. When I work in pastel, it enables me to really find out how color works when you put value on top of another. So it's not like, okay, I'm working in pastels and I'm not it's going to hurt my airbrush. No, it's going to make my airbrush painting better. And it's going to give you a critical thinking where you're going to start saying, okay, I know airbrush artists, quote unquote, do it this way, but what if we come at it from this vantage point? What if we come at it from the vantage point of a opaque approach as opposed to the transparent approach? That's the exciting part. So always do things, even if you stay within your medium, and that's fine. I'm not saying anything against that. But even if you stay within that medium, what you have to do is innovate, do things that are different, do things that are scaring you, you know, like, oh my God, I don't know how this is going to go, but we're going to find out. As Mr. Steve says, you know, what can go wrong, and he does a lot of that innovative kind of work. And I know when he does his 543s, and I watch Steve, and Steve, you can definitely say that I'm correct if you're still here, because I know you'll say correct. You do a lot of experimenting in those 543s because I can see it. It's as plain as day that you do a lot of experimenting with that. And I think that really helps your work in the long run, which is just super exciting. Let's see. I'm going to take my time and bring this over. So, yeah, you know, and that I find those little, now, those short, quick paintings, you know, that we all do are fine. They're great, but they're only great when you're doing them alongside, and Steve does that alongside larger paintings, paintings that take longer. You know, if someone's just doing those quick little paintings, they're great. They're great for, you know, finding yourself and all of that stuff. But in itself, just doing quick little paintings is not healthy as an artist because we're not doing fully realized paintings, you know, which, you know, when you do a painting that is like, you know, full-blown painting, you have to make a painting, right? And to make a painting is, you know, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts, so to speak. Anyway, that's how I feel. Someone who has studied with several masters of different mediums, and I have been blessed for that. Thank you, God. Thank you, my mom and dad, for putting up with me and for making me move to New York City, where I was able to be exposed by these great painters. I mean, that was important. And also when I came home and said, hey, Mom and Dad, I want to be an artist, and they looked at me, you know, here I am, this kid that doesn't have to study and gets great grades, and I say, hey, Mom and Dad, I want to be poor. And they looked at me like, oh my God. They weren't super thrilled, but they were thrilled with, you know, the work, you know. They were thrilled with that. But, you know, they were supportive, and they not necessarily thought it was a great idea, but they said whatever I wanted. That's exactly how they stood by me, and I'll never forget that. So I had wonderful, supportive parents, and I hear horror stories of parents that wouldn't allow their kids to go to art school and stuff like that. And that's tragic. I mean, we're blessed to have these little people in our lives. I mean, the least we can do is, you know, help them realize their dreams. And my mom and dad believe that. And let's see here. See that? I lightened that edge. That came out good. Okay. Alrighty then. Now let's put a magnet close to this edge here. This is eraser time right here. And now I think we can kind of create this transition tone as it comes down from, whoa, that's not good. These magnets are dirty, so if it ever gets on your painting, don't rub them on there. Just lift them up. Hold my beer, Mr. Leahy says. Now, having an art school education isn't always an advantage. There are times when artists, haven't been told dogmatic viewpoints on things, and, you guys aren't told of the, um, what not to do, right? And you just do it because no one told you not to, and then you find your own way of working, and that's great. So there are advantages of self-teaching, definitely. Okay, so now what we can do is we'll lift this up, and I think we could probably come in and start working. Now we can continue modeling the form, right? But for tonight, what I want to do is uh, just see how I would map this out quickly, and then, go into, the individual forms. So right now, I think it would be great if we sort of laid in her blouse. And it's great because it covers the candle. So it's interesting, right? So I'm doing a oil painting, but I'm using all the skills and the importance of airbrushing to create a better oil painting. And that's exciting. So airbrushing is wonderful on its own right, but it's the one tool that will make an oil painter better. An oil painter doesn't have any tools that's going to make an airbrush painting better. So that's a real tip of the cap to the airbrush people who work just in airbrush, because this medium is so wonderful that it helps out so many other mediums out there. And that's exciting to me. And it should be exciting to those who dedicate their artistic career to airbrushing, because it is a wonderful support to other mediums. Steve Leahy says, oh, 100%, get to try out all kinds of new techniques without a lot of pressure. Plus, it challenges him to get done fast, which he's not really good at. Yeah, you are amazing at the speed, Steve. You're not giving yourself enough credit. But yeah, so Steve agreed. Basically, it's like, when you're doing the quick ones, they're great support for working on the big ones, but the small ones by themselves, if someone just did quick little doodles, they're shooting themselves in the foot, and in any medium. So the small things, those little studies, they're so important, because that's going to give you the vocabulary to do important larger pieces. And that's one of the things I see sometimes in the airbrush world, where an artist will do just the little ones and not the big ones. But Steve does, when I say little ones, I don't mean size, because Steve Leahy does that painting, Tokyo, which is just incredible. The size has nothing to do with the amount of work and time going into it. That's what I mean. It has nothing to do with, like, there's 8-foot paintings out there that are monstrosities, but, a small painting with the preparation and the time and the labor and the inspiration, That's what I mean. Those quick studies are fantastic, but they're like the supportive uh, role for the larger pieces. And all those times I did those drawings on the subways and on the buses and the trains really helped me here. And that's the thing. So Mr. Leahy is getting so good at these small paintings that it's hard to decipher which is like the small quick stuff and which is the real stuff. Did you guys see that painting he did of the Miss Budweiser? That's just amazing. I'm just so freaked out by it. And Dave Naylor does some incredible small pieces, and you guys are just great, you know? I really appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, it's crucial that we do both, you know, and, you know, like Steve does. I don't do as much as the small ones, so I need to do some quick studies, and that will make me better, because that will allow me to go ahead as I do the small studies to not be so invested in it, and do, you know, be a little more bold in my decision making. So what am I talking about? I don't know. But honestly, I just think it's a combination of doing the quick studies and the large epic paintings. You know, have the large epic painting going, but have quick studies right after another so you can get good at all the different stages. You know, the line drawing, you know, the block in. You know, that's where another reason why doing those little short paintings are important, because you do 3 a week. You did 3 opening parts of that process. So it goes both ways. If you're just doing epic paintings, then you could be 3-4 months between how to begin a painting. And you're like, oh my God, I'm rusty. So it's so important to do both. And for me, I'm doing more of the epic paintings, you know, more involved with backgrounds and everything, and I need to do some chill out, just relaxed paintings. So right now, I'm not doing anything but blocking in this shirt, blouse. Let's see how we did. So it looks like I did nothing, but watch when I lift this, you're going to be like, wow, that's a lot of white. Here's one thing I find. Be careful when you erase, because sometimes if the 50-50 illustration white is not cured, you can do damage to the paper. So just be careful not to erase in the early going. Okay, great. So we can definitely see that we have a nice tonal structure already, right? Already we have something going. And now we could maybe start working on more structure. Some freehand airbrushing here. So here's the sternocleidomastoid coming down here. It comes from right just as the skull turns to the back of the back of the skull. And it goes from the back of the ear all the way down to each side of the clavicle at the sternum. So John Auguste Dominique Ingres, my favorite 19th century French neoclassical painter, he said that drawing is 85% of a good painting. And he talks, his whole life about how important drawing is. But he used to get upset when people would admire his drawings. And I remember one time somebody, I wasn't there, of course, it was in the 1800s, someone looked at his work and said, wow, such amazing drawings. And Ingres said, no one goes to the studio of an artist, of a painter, and compliments his drawings. So, it's funny how artists are. So notice that I'm slowing it down in the sense that I'm actually not going close to the values that are there. I'm really, really slowing things down. By slowing it down, I'm able to create the midtones and the subtle variations from the midtones to the darks, from the darks to the to the to the dark lights, to the lights, subsequently to the highlights. But having this like really super diluted detail mixture is really helping. When I was studying at the High School of Art and Design, I had some great teachers, Erwin Greenberg, Max Ginsberg, Irving Doctor. They were great painters. And they kept telling me that I'm worried too much about line. I should paint more and not worry about the line. But that's what made me want to be a painter to begin with as a kid, was the beautiful line. And it wasn't until I went away to college and I worked with this art historian, and he introduced me to work of the 19th century French painters like Ingres and David, where line was everything. And I couldn't wait to go back to my high school teacher after college and say, look, you were wrong. But then as I realized, he wasn't wrong. It was just a different school of thought. They're both right. There is no right or wrong. It's just different approaches. And Mr. Airtod says, Tim, what have you done? Would have taken me 6 hours. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. But the stencils really help, right? They really, really do. So I highly recommend, getting, either a Cricut or a Cameo 4. That would really help. Or you can do it like Mr. Leahy does with the with the razor blade. Now that's a master right there with the razor blade. I just say, you know what, I can't do that. It's just amazing how different artists can bring these like amazing tools to the table. So I'm going to move around and just start getting some structure here and there. So like right here, it's funny. At this point, rather than erase, I would probably, since I'm working with the detail mixture, break all convention and go over the white with the detail mixture, since it's so diluted, It really is. So that's really cool. Here we have the clavicle. Now the clavicle is going to have a hard edge because it's not turning as slowly as, let's say, the nose. It's more rounded. If something is more rounded, it's going to turn slowly. But here at the clavicle, as it goes towards the chromium process at the shoulder, it's going to be a harder edge because it's not as round. So there's always a reason for everything. And, you know, my weirdness is that I always want to find a reason why things turn slowly and why things turn fast, right? Oh man, Mr. Gregory, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Enjoy Pennsylvania and take it easy and stay out of that sun, right? Oh my God. So I'm taking a painting over to get framed, and they say, you know, why are you working so small? Is there a reason? Like there's an artistic reason for me to work small? There really isn't. It's the fact of space. A, I don't have space to house large paintings anymore. B, I need to film it, and I don't have the space to have a super wide angle lens and a distortion. So, you know, my working small is this practical reason. And, but I'll tell you, ever since I started working small, I really love it. There's, it's almost like, to me, when I work small, I feel like when I was a kid working on the kitchen table. You know, after dinner was over and people were watching, my family members were watching TV, and I would just be painting at the kitchen table in these like little canvases and everything. And that kind of stuck with me, you know? It kind of feels like home. And so, Steve, tell us if you can, if you're still there, what would be the main motivating factor of why you started working small? Was it an artistic decision? Was it a practical decision? I would really love to hear that, if you're still here. And what I mean about slowing it down is that when I'm building value, right, building, you know, dark values, I am not going super fast. You know, I'm taking it slow. And Mr. Ed Todd says he figured how to cut stencils. Oh yes, definitely. I have a Cameo 4, but what I could do is I could send you a couple that I did and see if you can go ahead and plug them into your Cricut, okay? I'll do that for you within the next day or so. I'll send you some stencils, and you should be able to cut them. Now the thing is, you have to learn how to make the stencils that are your own. That's the that's the beauty of everything. Keep from going too dark too soon. So rather than erasing the white, I'm actually spraying over the white with a diluted detail mixture. Now this wouldn't work as well if you were working with something else in my ink. You would probably get the blue shift. But you see here, I'm actually able to get this like real soft, almost alabaster feel, which is really great. How many paintings do you guys work on at a time? Tim has a few. I usually work on about 5 paintings at a time, and I know Steve works a lot more than that at a time. Oh, Mr. Bobby says he has a Cricut and Cameo 4 Pro, both, yes. Which do you like better, sir? Whoop, I went big. I should come back. Let me focus. And then we'll zoom back. Okay, so now we can maybe start working on some of these large value areas here in the background. So remember, I'm not just working on, if I was just working on the face, it would be a lot different, but I'm creating a painting with atmosphere. She's in a place, right? She's not just a face, she's in a place. And that is going to uh, make my job a lot more complex, make the painting a lot more sophisticated. Oh, the crickets are easier. Very cool. And Steven says Toddy has a bunch of them that works, but he keeps active ones to 2 or 3. Very cool idea. So just 2 to 3. Okay. That's a manageable number. Now, if I had my own way, I'd be working on one painting. It would be a large painting and maybe some small ones, small studies for the paintings. That's my normal workflow, but since I'm making money from this, I have to make sure that I got a lot of coals in the fire. So right now I probably have about 7 paintings going. I know, that's crazy. Okay, so I want to keep this edge here. So it's darker back here. It's a nice dark. And that's going to be the tonal structure. When this gets dark, this will give this more of a reference of what's going on. And also of her hair. So, and then I'm going to come in with some paintbrush techniques. But I want to be careful with that. Because if I come in with paintbrush techniques too early, the downside is that I can create hard edges, which I'm just going to have to get rid of anyway. So those are the things to really worry about. So from now on, since I do have my color theory, but I'm unable to roll it out right now. So I'll go back to, working the regular color mixing way until I can roll that out. So that's cool. So I'll go back to like the detail, wicked detail, and the lifeline colors and everything like that. And then once I'm able to roll out my color theory, then that would be different. And it would be something that would be available to everybody. But right now, legal reasons, I can't. But that's cool because we just go back to the regular color mixing way, which is good. Tim, do you use distilled water? Yes. With my airbrush India inks, I definitely do. Distilled water is best. It doesn't get funky. I add a couple of more things to slow the drying, give it a little more consistency, things like that, which is very good. So those are different things that I do. And here's a great comment from Mr. Bobby. Oh, so Steve says he always liked the small format, but now it is a challenge and the live reaction to the work. Yeah, that's interesting. So it is a challenge. So why is it a challenge now? Very interesting. And love to hear your thoughts. And Bobby says Cricut is a little bit easier, but he's decided to go with Cameo 4 Pro because of the size that he's able to cut, more or less, where it's 24 inches and longer lengths. Yeah, the Cameo Pro is really nice. So definitely. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to establish this dark right here. Think of the painting as an abstract expression. It's like a Robert Motherwell or even a Rothko, right? You're not painting things, but you're painting shapes. And that's what I'm doing now is I'm just getting those shapes down so I can have that framework and just, make sure my composition is sound, it looks good from far away. There's an expression in the gallery world when you're in a group show, you want your work to knock the other paintings off the wall. Meaning you want your painting to sing from far away, right? To bring your eye to that painting and ignore all the paintings around it. And that's a cool expression. So next we can go back to our train painting, but I'm going to start this painting anyway, and I really wanted to share my thoughts on how I begin a painting. So, I mean, did you guys enjoy that? Was it a good decision to have the live stream of how I began a painting? Let me know. Now, it's funny, you know, I also heard this one expression that champions keep going even when there's nothing left in the tank. And I want to expound on that because I think, you know, as artists, we're working on 3 paintings at a time, and as you are, you know, growing as a painter and or an artist or anything you do, you're gonna have days that are just not going right. Things are just not gonna go smoothly. And that's when you gotta keep going. That's when it's so important to paint when things aren't going correctly. And you can have a string of paintings where it's just not clicking. But you have to keep going to the easel every day, or the board or whatever. Keep going, keep going, keep going, you know, and you'll work it out, you know, and that's the important thing, that the champions keep going when they're like, oh my God, again, again. You assess the situation and you keep going, but to me that's the painting time that is so important, to get over that hump, so to speak. You know, to keep going when there's nothing left in the tank, when you just don't feel like it. And that's important. You know, it's not about feeling like it. If I only painted when I feel like it, it might be on, you know, every other Wednesday and Friday, but I mean, I want to do something, and I know you all do as well. I want to do something that is extraordinary, that, you know, exceeds my own expectations of myself. And the only way that's going to happen is I keep going, regardless of how I feel, you know? And don't let my own negativity get in the way, or even the results get in the way. Because a lot of times the results are just going to not be what we wanted, but you keep going. And like I said earlier to Michael, is, you know, I really feel in each and every one of us is a Mona Lisa, or, you know, a great work of art, you know, a starry night, you know. It's within you, but you have to get over those really hard times where things don't really seem to be going very well. And I know that's not exactly a positive message, but I think in its own way it really is a positive message. I really feel it is. And so there's some really nice candelabras over here. So I'm gonna cover her dress. I don't want to get anything in there. I like the white that's there. So I'm gonna cover this, and then I'm gonna work on these candelabras because it's a nice dark value. And remember, we're thinking of an abstract painting right now. There's nothing going on right here. As soon as I get things going on, then I can decide what to keep and what take away. That sort of thing. Like I said, it's good to do just a head study, and those are great. But when we're doing fully realized paintings with backgrounds and everything, that's when, you know, we got to use all our faculties to make this work. So I need this piece. Can I find it? That's the question. I think this might be it. Let's see. Maybe this way? Yes. Okay, that's exactly what we need. Okay, good. That worked out. These, you know, working with the paper's a lot better. These things are invisible. So if you misplace them, it's going to be hard to find something that's invisible. Wow, we had 11:27 already, and I hope it was an enjoyable live stream, that you all got something from it. Thank you so much. I got a lot from it, hanging out with you great people. And thank you so much for the super chats, guys. I really appreciate it. Air Todd says Rod from Gen X uses alcohol in the mix. That's very cool. You know, there's a lot of quick drying properties in there that I think would be great. I think DreadX does some really, really great things. So definitely. So water and alcohol, very nice. And he does some really great pieces. I'm really loving his stuff, and he has a great channel. And we definitely should support people like him and Steve, you know, who definitely keep the inspiration flowing. So I'm just going to be hitting this dark right here of the candelabra. Plenty of time to go dark. And you know, with these India inks, they're mostly water, so you can get too wet too soon, and that would be not good. These are soft edge, so I don't want to use any kind of shield here. And take my time getting dark. Oh, Steve Leahy says he loves seeing the beginning of the painting process, so yes, this was great. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Yeah, the beginnings are always interesting, you know? A lot of times they set the tone for the whole painting, don't they, Steve, right? It's like meeting a new person, right? Sometimes you can assess how it will go from the rest of your life with that person, or knowing that person from the first time you meet. And the same thing, I think a lot of times when you begin a painting, you can say, you know, wow, this is going to be super smooth, or this is going to be a rough one, but you know, you're going to continue regardless. Great feed tonight, Tim. I wish class went this far. Uh, I appreciate you there, Mr. Bobby, and we'll get there, definitely. It takes time, you know, like I've been doing this since I was 15 years old, you know, and so it takes time, and that's what teachers like me and Steve and DreadX are about, you know, just helping you all get to that next level slowly, and just to have patience with yourself, with the process. And so this is where we are now, not too bad. And thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out. It was a lot of fun. I hope you have a great Thursday. Thank you so much, Mr. Gary, for the super chat. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mr. Dave. You guys are fantastic. Thank you, Steve, for hanging out. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Steve Leahy, YouTube. Check him out. He's doing some amazing stuff on the live stream. I think I am going to do it because I'm teaching a class from 10 to 12, so I will be there on Steve's live stream tomorrow at 1. Hope to see you there. Everyone, have a great night. God bless you. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.